Okay, so FSD has to make this choice here, and it's doing it very safe and cautiously and perfectly. Very well executed on our first update of 2025. We are currently on version 13.2.7. We can confirm that over here in software. 13.2.7, that's the only thing that has upgraded. That updated last night. Well, I got it pushed to me last night. I updated this morning, and we are at 4:17 in the afternoon. We are currently in hurry mode on a 2024 Model Y, and I have driven with FSD v13.2.7 on my way out this morning. I did not record that video, but it did feel maybe a little bit better, maybe a little bit more confident with what its decision making, but we didn't have a very interesting ride, so hopefully with the more traffic this evening, we'll see something interesting happen and something vary between the previous build. Now, it has been about 2 months maybe since version 13 came out, and that's the first and only build of version 13 besides today that I did receive. I'll put whatever it is right here, but some people have been getting the different builds for V13. Your normal people like AI Driver, Chuck, and Dirty Tesla, and Omar. They've been getting a few updates recently with V13, but they got V13.2.7, it seems like last night or 2 nights ago, and I got it last night. So it seems like I am 1 day behind them, so that is pretty cool, even though I did miss out on those first few builds. Now, here's an interesting thing. We actually got to get, oh, this is perfect. We didn't follow that car, which is really good. It noticed that these are actually cars in a lane and actually got behind them. That's what it needed to do. It did that perfectly. I haven't come across that situation before, and then we're stopping perfectly. V13 has been amazing with lights, but really surprised that it didn't think that those cars were like parked on the side of the road or anything. I don't know if it used their lights or anything. For a second, I wasn't too sure what was going on there, but the car handled that perfectly. Really like to see that, but back to updates. Yeah, we haven't got one. I haven't got one all of this year. It is now February 7th, 10th. Let me see. It's February 10th, yeah. So haven't got one all of this year. This is the first one. Hopefully it's a good one. Like I said, some people have been getting them. If you're on Hardware 3, I think they've been getting quite a few updates. But they're still in version 12, and they seem to have some issues still here and there, where I'm pretty close to calling it Robotaxi safety ready. As in, it's still probably going to do dumb stuff, stupid stuff that it shouldn't do, but it's more where it's like legal or uncomfortable situations. I think I've been in maybe 1 situation, maybe 2 situations. Still don't know if they'd even be considered safety critical, but since I've gotten V13, which has been months now, where I've actually needed to take over because I thought something was going to happen to the vehicle or someone outside the vehicle. Now, okay, I was going to say, I think we can turn right here, but there is a sign right up here. I don't think anyone can see that because I can barely see it. Maybe you saw it coming in and I didn't, but there is a sign that says no turn on red. The car saw it apparently. I did not. There's some emergency vehicles way up ahead. I could barely see the glow. You probably can't. It's in the left-hand lane, it looks like. Slowing down for that little tight spot, that was perfect. It felt very comfortable, very natural. Nothing out of the blue for V13 so far. Everything seems to be handled correctly. Something that V13 does not handle is emergency vehicles, at least not for me. I usually have to deal with them. Something I've noticed, like this we're seeing right here, is it starts reacting to these lights way sooner than version 12. It feels super natural, super comfortable. I would have liked to see the car stop a little bit sooner. It stopped right on the line, right where I would have if that person wasn't there. Since that person was there and I saw them like eyeing up this corner to take it short, I just predicted that they were going to take it short, and they did. They came pretty close to the car. The car didn't react, didn't slap. Like, I would have liked it to slam on the brakes. Yeah, that might have been a little bit more comfortable, but I would have been like, okay, you understand what's going on around you. And sadly, we didn't see that, but everything was fine. Everything was handled fine. So realistically, the car did the right thing, but I guess that comes down to personal preference. I'd rather have had the car stop a little sooner, just to avoid any possible situation of any issues. So something else that hasn't been fixed in V13, as far as I know, is school zones that says till 3:30. So we actually don't even have to listen to it. So we can't test that out here. But I believe I did go through a school zone earlier today. It wasn't during school anyway, so it wouldn't have had to follow that either. So far, I don't know if it does follow school zones anymore, or yet. It didn't in previous builds. And right here, it doesn't because it says until 3:30. I don't know if the car is reading that sign or knows about that, but as of right now, we do not have to follow that school zone. So it behaved perfectly fine. Is it lucky that it behaved perfectly fine because it's out of the school zones? Maybe, most likely, I would say, but maybe that has changed. I'm not sure if anyone has noticed that in the newer build, and that should be something that I test out maybe this weekend when I can drive through a school zone at the wrong time. Something that I do want, or at the right time, drive through a school zone during the school hours is what I was trying to say. Something that I do want fixed, that was issues, probably one of my biggest disengagements, and it wasn't for safety necessarily, but for comfort, is railroad tracks. There's some pretty rough ones that I go over, and the car just doesn't want to slow down, or at least slow down enough. Sometimes I see a few miles, maybe, and that these ones are real rough. It needs to slow down heavily. And there's some other ones in the town that aren't too rough. I like this, going around these vehicles. I had plenty of time. There's a car behind us. Oh, now we're at a yellow. I would have stopped, but it had plenty of time. That was perfectly executed, going around all those vehicles. Wow, I don't know the roads around here, so I would have just stayed in my lane and continued, and I would have been stuck at that light. And then even if I did move over, I would have still been stuck at that light because I would have stopped, but it had plenty of time and moved on through. So as we were seeing with V13, is it's becoming a better driver than I am, and it's way safer than I am. I've had some issues where some safety critical engagements that the car did that I didn't see. So it was driving, and then it would do something that I'd be like, oh, why are you doing that? And it was actually right. I just didn't see the thing. So we're starting to see those kind of things pop up where the car's just driving better. Back to the railroad tracks. In the village area where they're nice and smooth, it does slow down like 5-10 miles per hour, and it's super nice. But where it's super rough, you would think it would slow down even more, where it just barely pays attention to it, if it pays attention at all. So I'd like to see railroad tracks improved. There was a railroad crossing that was coming down, but sadly I didn't get to be the first car to test it on the previous version. Someone got in front of me, and I was kind of sad about that, but maybe we can try and get one of those and see if the car will stop for the railroad tracks. I know earlier builds or later builds of V12, it must have been, where it would not stop for the railroad tracks, or like the crossings coming down for the trains. So I'd really be interested to see how that goes. I'm also curious on how the car reacts to a railroad crossing that doesn't have the things that come down, because there's a few of those around here, and it's kind of hard to time that with a train, but maybe I can try and find a schedule or something and get that tested for you guys, because I'm personally really curious. I don't know if you guys are. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see something like that, if that interests you. But hopefully railroad tracks are a little bit better. We're going 34 here, but that's because of our max set to 34. If the speed limit is 30, I'm fine with that. But other cars felt a little bit faster. Maybe everyone's kind of going around 35, so I think it's okay. Yeah, and we do see a speed for 30. So we are good with going the speed. Oh gosh. I would have stopped again, and we did not need to. It made the right call. I don't know what it is about V13, but it makes the calls every single time for traffic lights now. Way better than I can. So really happy to see that. It's not being overcautious or anything. It's being perfect. Like, I don't know how they nailed it with those lights, because I don't think that there's a standard. I think they're just whatever. Maybe there is a standard, and maybe the car just learned a pattern. But it's way better than I am now, and that just, like I said, is the trend. And I think that's going to be the trend for 2025, where we're going to have these driving in Texas, maybe California, maybe Arizona, by the end of the year. And a lot of people, I just don't think, believe that it's actually going to come, but I can feel it. It's definitely coming. It's pretty crazy how good this car is getting with driving, better than humans. And time and time again, it's doing some pretty crazy stuff. And now it's not perfect yet. Like I said, within the last 2 months or so, there was like 1 or 2 times where it was needed to be intervened because it could have been a safety measure or safety issue. So we're not there yet, but we're getting close. But there's also been the times where it saved me from being in a safety critical spot. So I'd say it's getting pretty close, and we'll just see that skyrocket to being better than humans by the end of the year, I predict. There's not really, besides the railroad tracks, I don't really think there's anything the car really struggles with, like, consistently. Just a few comfort. Oh, there is actually one more thing that the car does struggle with. It's not safety critical or anything, but it is annoying, and it's just speed. It still doesn't have speed. Sometimes it doesn't even detect speeds. I think it's gotten worse on detecting speed limit signs, like physical signs. I feel like it used to nail it. Every time I'd pass one, it got it. Every time I passed it, got it. Now, daily, I'm seeing it just go past one, and the speed doesn't update. And I'm like, what? How? You used to be able to do this. What's going on? So I think we did have a regression somewhere, maybe V13, but it does seem to not predict or get speed limit signs nearly as good as it used to, which is really sad, because I really did like how well it was before. Now this is interesting. I think the traffic isn't going to allow us to. We might have to go over the. Oh no, we're going to have plenty of room. I was thinking it might have to go over this median to get into this lane. It doesn't really like crossing yellows, but it's just. It feels like it's just living its own life, doing its own thing, maybe a little slower than what some people would be doing and some people would prefer, even in hurry, but it's doing it. That's all that really matters. When I can be in the back seat on my phone or on my laptop doing some work, I won't really care if it's going a few miles slower. I'd actually prefer it to go a few miles slower, stay under the speed limit, not get a ticket, and just be a little safer. But back to like the speed issues that I've been having, they're like, the speed limit signs, yes, are not registering half the time. But even when they do register, it will just increase the speed randomly without me intervening or anything at all. It'll even have the speed limit like posted right here, but then the max speed will go like 10, 20 miles over, and the car just rockets. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, A, that's not safe. B, I don't want a ticket. And C, can we not do that? I just don't want you to do that. It's not even comfortable. Normally happens on like probably 45 and above roads, maybe even just 55 and above. I'm seeing it on highway. I'm seeing it on streets kind of like this. I wasn't sure if it was going to make that, but it probably was fine. But it was going to hit that thing in the road possibly. I didn't want to risk it, so we'll re-engage here. But I don't know if you saw that in the road. I don't know if it showed on visual, but it was probably an inch from hitting it. And the car can probably tell better than I can if it was going to hit it or not. So let me know if you think the car was going to hit it, if you saw it in the road, A, on the screen, B, and if I should have let it do its thing. Probably should have let it do its thing, but I'd rather not hit that piece of metal that was in the road. So I did take over for that. But yeah, speed needs to be fixed. On-ramps are good, as you can see here. I'll show you the on-ramp, and then I think we'll just end it here once we get on the on-ramp. Could be interesting, depending on the traffic we get. But highways, it's good. There's nothing new. They've been good. they've been good since like V11, honestly. They just keep improving a little bit here and there. But as you see, it merged perfectly fine, even with that thing closing in, their on-ramp. Okay, so before we go, there is a vehicle on the side of the road here. Let's see if it moves over. And it's moving over. I was about to hit it. I did not touch it. It looked like I might have touched it. I had my hand resting on it because I want to give them space. Let's see if it'll move back over. I don't think it will. What I've had a trend with is it only moves back over once it passes a car in that lane. So like once we pass this like white car, it'd probably move over. I don't know if that's some weird logic or something, but it won't just get back over if it moves over for some weird reason, most of the time. But seeing that car on the side of the road and it moving over, I'm really happy to see, because a lot of the time it doesn't. So really excited for that. Hopefully that was a new thing in 13.2.7 build. That'd be super cool. That's been one of probably the biggest issues on the highway, is that. Also, it doesn't move over if there's an oncoming vehicle onto an on-ramp. It usually tends to just like stay in its lane, and then I have to intervene and just hit the blinker earlier, and then it does its thing. But so let's see if it moves back over now. 3, 2, 1, somewhere around here. Maybe not. Maybe it just wants to go for it. But anyways, thanks guys for watching. Leave a comment down below. Subscribe if you want to see more, and have a good one.
The road just keeps going for miles.
Alright guys, welcome back to another FSD video. Here we are on version 12. Wow, not 12. We're going to see if anything changed with this build, or if this build is just pretty much the same as the previous builds have been. This is the first build in version... Nope.
We're gonna get there. Take my hand. Together we'll make it. Together we can. To the end. Together we'll make it. So come take my hand.